solving polynomial equations by factoring. So what you want to do when factoring polynomials is to get it down to where you can easily factor or solve it, and that will usually mean getting it down to a quadratic. And we already have several methods for solving quadratics. Factoring and quadratic formula are the ones that I most use and prefer. So our first problem is a cubic. And your first step in factoring a polynomial, any polynomial, should be evaluating it, because how you solve the problem depends on what degree it is. And also, if you have a cubic, then you know you're going to have 3 roots, and if you have a quartic, you know you're going to have 4 roots. Next, you want to make sure that you're taking out all GCFs and anything else like negative signs, and that will make your solving so much easier. So here, because I have 4 terms, I know that I can factor by grouping, or at least I'll see if I can. It doesn't always work. So I draw a line down the middle, and then I treat each of these as their own separate equation, kind of. So I take out an x squared here, and then I can do x plus 3, and then I can take out a negative 4 here, and I'll get x plus 3. And you always want to make sure that these 2 terms are the same, and if they're not, then either you did something wrong or it's not working and you should try a different method. So next it'll be x squared minus 4 and x plus 3. And you can factor that down further into x plus 2 and x minus 2, and then you can just add on the x plus 3. And here that was just simple factoring, and you can always go back and check it, and I'll be doing that in later problems. And so your roots are going to be x negative 2, x equals negative 2, x equals 2, and x equals negative 3. So this is a quartic. And for this kind of problem, it's kind of like a guess and check method, but with your degree term as well. So here I normally, if it's a quartic, I like to start with x squared, and then 40. So it's going to be 1 times 40, that won't get you 14, 2 times 20, that won't get you 14, but 4 times 10 will. So then you know that it must be minus 4 and minus 10. And you can go back and FOIL that, and then x, just to check your answer, I'm not going to right now, and then x minus 2, as we already did in the previous. And then here, it's going to be x minus the square root of 10, and x plus the square root of 10. And I always like to check this because I'm never really sure. So you can FOIL that, and you'll get x squared, and then plus the square root of 10x minus the square root of 10x, and then negative square root of 10 times square root of 10 will be 10, or negative 10, and then these 2 cancel out, so then you know those are your factors. So x will equal 2, negative 2, x equals 2, and x equals negative square root of 10, x equals square root of 10. So this is a quintic, but you can take out an x squared, and that makes your solving much easier, and just a cubic. So you can take out a 2x squared here, and you'll get x cubed minus 2x squared minus 25x plus 50. And from here, you can group. So draw a line. You can take out an x squared, and then x minus 2. Here you can take out a negative 25, and again, x minus 2. So you know you did that right. So then you have 2x squared, and then x squared minus 25, and x minus 2. And you can break that down and just by simple factoring again by x minus 5 and x plus 5. And you'll have x minus 2 and 2x squared. So x is going to equal 0, and because it's a squared, x will really equal 0 twice. X will equal 5, x will equal negative 5, and x will equal 2. And those are your factors, and your roots. You will have 5 answers because it is a quintic. And if you want to check your work, you can FOIL all this, and that's a good way to make sure your answer is correct, and especially on a test, that's very useful. And some common mistakes that a lot of people make are not factoring far enough. And so a simple way to combat this is just make sure that if there's ever an x squared left, then you know you haven't done enough. And also make sure to count up the roots you have, because the roots you have should always equal the degrees. Also some simple mathematical ears, because if you're constantly factoring, you're bound to make some kind of mistake usually. And so a way to fix that is always FOIL and just check your work, make sure everything is good and adds up. And a way to practice, and really for any kind of math problem or unit, is to look at more practice problems in practice. And that's an easy way to get better.